Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be running electricity to the metal building. I am going to be taking it from the side of the house where my exterior panel is, where all my solar system stuff is. Taking it from there all the way to the corner of the house here, and then all the way to the metal building. Before you start digging, you have to call your utility companies, okay? Here in Texas, you dial 811. Whatever utilities you have, me, it's just cable here. They come out here and they marked it. And I found it, it's right there, so I know not to cut it when I go trenching it. I also dug a little bit here in the corner of the house, just in case there's some unknowns that I don't know. I dug those by hand. Could be some pipes or something the previous owner put. You never know what's going on in and around the exterior of the house, you know. So dig a little bit by hand before you start trenching, you know. So anyways, I dug by hand here, found my cable line, and over by the building I knew there was a water line there, and I found it. So you got to make sure you know where all your, especially electrical lines are, buried electrical lines, your whatever utilities you have, water, electric, cable, whatever. You got to know where those are at. Start digging by hand until you find them. After you call them, they'll mark it for you, like they did here with me. They marked where my cable line was, and I found everything pretty quick, actually. Now I'm ready for trenching. And that's what we're going to do next. You got to remember, when you're doing any kind of manual labor like this, trenching, shoveling, digging ditches, whatever, make sure you're in the 9500 degree heat in Texas when you do it, okay? I think a lemonade is in order. Alright, I'm done with the trenching. Only thing I have left to do, man, is it hot. Whew. Only thing I have left to do is, I have to clean the trench out, get all the dirt that fell in there. And I had to go one way up to a certain point and then turn the machine around and go the other way, like over here. You know, I started by the house over there, and I went so many feet that way, and then I turned around into this hole here and continued on. But that's done. All they have to do is clean it out and we can start laying pipe. So I got the trench all cleaned out. I'm starting to lay in my PVC conduit here. This is 2-inch PVC electrical conduit. I could have went smaller, but it'll make it easier to pull the wire. So now I'm just gluing everything together. All right, so I got all the PVC conduit put in. As you can see here, from here all the way down to the metal building. Now here I have a 90-degree elbow, and what I'm going to put here, this PVC is very forgiving, and it's got a lot of wiggle room, longer pieces. So you can move this around where you want, and you can even bend it, twist it a little bit. I got a junction box here. This is an 8x8. Man, these things are expensive. This was $36 for this. Can you believe it? Incredible. Anyways, this is going to be mounted here, and there's going to be a 2-inch PVC conduit going up into the box here. And then what I'm going to do is drill a hole here also, and continue it on out to the panels on the side of my house. And this, I have another junction box like this that I'm going to put also on the metal building. So what I did here is got my junction box all ready. I added some terminal adapters here and here. It's going to go here, and this one's going to go to my panels. Now I drill these out using a hole saw. Now when you're going into plastic especially, you want to go in reverse with the hole saw because it bites too much if you do it the correct way. It'll bite so much that if your drill strong enough, it'll rip your wrist apart. So run it backwards and it'll get through. And it'll be a cleaner hole too. Then I put my terminal adapters in and the nuts, and we're good to go here. So I added my piece of 2-inch PVC up to the height I needed. Now I may not cement this in. I may not do that. I may just put it on there, put it where I need it. I put it right there, and then the other pipe is going to go right to my panels. Now when you're using, these are tap cons, okay? When you're using, these are good for concrete and bricks and things like that, cement. When you're using them, you have to use a special drill. It's a carbide tip drill. Don't go into the mortar, okay, in between the bricks. Go where the brick is, right into the brick, not the mortar, okay? And it will work out just fine. Now you got to put it on hammering. Now I got to make sure it's both into the brick on the bottom and the top. Right about there. I'm going to do one more. When you tighten these things, don't use your drill. Do it by hand. Get a ratchet like this, and do it until it's nice and snug. That's it. Because these will strip, and if it strips in there, then your hole's too big, and then the next one, if you try putting a new one in, it might not tighten up. But just snug them. You don't want to tighten these up really tight. So I am just going to get one started here. It's going in nice. Now just to hold the box up, that's all I'm doing. I have another one of these tabs on the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing. There, now bottom one is snug. And the top one is snug. Box is not going anywhere, okay? Okay. Now we're ready to run the pipe all the way to my panels on the side of the house. And again, you just want to snug them, that's it. Okay, next. Okay, so I got my PVC conduit cut to length. I'm going to put a box here, and then a flexible 2-inch conduit goes right up into my panel here. So I already drilled my holes in my bricks, and they're ready for the tap cons. All I have to do now is cement this to the junction box, and we're good to go. Okay, I am done with the conduit here for the most part. Here I use a little bit of a flex conduit here, 2-inch. So what I'm gonna do is, once I bring the wires up through here, they're going to a 100 amp breaker. Now I'm gonna get a 125 amp breaker soon, but because the sub panel is 125 amp, but this will do just fine for now. I won't be drawing anywhere near this. So I'll be putting the 2 hots here, the ground and the neutral on their respective bars, and then this breaker is going to go right in here, and that will give me power to the storage building. But I have to pull the wires first, and we're going to do that next. Alright, so this is going to be much easier to unwind. I have a stake here and a stake on by the building. I measured out to be 110.5 feet. So once I bring it over to the other stake. I'm going to pound it into the ground with a little, what do they call those, weed barrier cloth staple. Hold it down, come over here and cut this end off, and do that 3 times. Okay. Well, this is what I have, these little weed barrier cloth staples. That should do it. Now we're going to go on the other end and cut that off. Okay, I don't have any wire cutters that will cut this clean, so I'm going to use a hacksaw. If I use the ones I have, it'll more or less smash it, and I won't be able to put it through the breaker panel when in the lugs when I need to. So I'm going to try to use a hacksaw. Real high tech here. And you know what? It worked really nice. I don't know if you can see that. Nice clean cut. Okay, 2 more to do. Okay, before we start pulling, we obviously have to get the ends ready. So with a good sharp utility knife, go down about 6 inches or so and cut all the way around it. Then we want to make a slice all the way down like this. So I'm just going to use this utility pole here. So I just put a slit across it, basically. There we go. So I just took off the insulative cover, exposed all the copper. Now I want to get about 4 strands. 3, about 4 strands, and unwind it like that. And do that twice. And try and get it from the other side that you picked from. So you got something crazy like this. We're going to cut all this middle stuff away and just leave these, okay? So what you can do is kind of unwind these. Stuff is still pretty thick. And then just start snipping each one. Okay, that looks pretty good. And just try the ones you cut, just kind of straighten them out a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to have 2 strands of 4 like that. Now we have to get it ready to start pulling. So all 3 of my ends on one end of the wire are going to look like that. Okay. Alright, so I'm ready to pull the wire. The first thing we need to do is, I have here a grocery bag, plastic grocery bag, and I tied a string to it. Okay? We're going to get this string and put it in the conduit like that. On the other end I have a wet and dry back. We're going to suck that string all the way through that pipe to that next junction box. Then on this end we're going to tie this nylon rope to it. And we're going to pull that through with the string until we get to the other end. Now on the other end of that nylon rope I have a loop here. All I did is made a loop and then tied a knot in that loop. Taped it up real good. This is where we're going to be putting the wire on. Okay? All those strands that I cut out, and I left those 8 strands sticking out, we're going to tie those onto here. We're going to loop them on here, and we're going to tape everything up really good. And then with the rope, we're going to use that to pull the wire through the conduit here. So let's do that now. That took about 1 second. Sucked it right into the vacuum too. I gotta take that out. But now what we have to do on the other end is tie the rope through and pull that rope through using the string. Okay. Alright. Alright, now that we have the rope through this first pipe, now we got to bring the string all the way to the metal building. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to get this and put it in the pipe. And then go vacuum it from the other end. Again, that took about 1 second. Okay. Now it's just a matter of pulling the rope through, and then we can start pulling the wire through. Okay. Alright guys, so I have my rope and I got my wire here. What we want to do, remember I put this 4 strands on each side. What we're going to do is put it on here like this and fold that over like that. Same thing with this one. Want to bring that through the loop and bend it and fold that over and tighten it up as best you can. This stuff is stiff. And then we're going to do that with the next one. Next one right here. Same deal. Put it through. Bend that over like that. And the other one, bend that through like that. And also the third one is I marked it here with white tape. This is my neutral here. Okay. We're gonna put that on there also and do the same deal. And we have a ground also. The ground I'm putting on there like that and putting it through the loop also. That one too. We want to make this as small as possible. I may get a channel locks or something and squeeze this together nice and tight. Okay, now we're going to get some duct tape and we're going to wrap this thing nice and tight. We just get a piece to get started. Alright, we're going to wrap this whole thing up nice and tight. Okay, so when we're done, we want something to look like this. Everything's nice and tight here, taped. And nothing's going to catch here. Also, nothing's going to catch if I have to pull the wire back out a little bit. So we should be ready now. Alright, so what I ended up doing is putting some electrical tape over the duct tape that I had put on here. The duct tape was very cheap. So I'm going to guide this, I'm going to put this in there and have my wife hold on to the wire and guide it in as I'm pulling from the other end. Alright? Ready? Mm-hmm. Put it in. And just kind of guide it in like that, okay?
Okay.
Hang on. Doing okay?
Uh-huh.
Alright, I got it.
Okay.
Alright, stop there. Made it out alive.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so I'm going to pull it out all the way until we have just enough to put it back in the box. Mm-hmm. And then we'll start feeding it through
the pipe.
The other pipe and bringing it right into the storage building. Okay, let's leave it just like that.
Okay.
Okay, now we got the majority of the wires out of this part here. Now we're going to feed it down into the conduit for the metal building. And same deal, my wife's going to guide it in, and I'm going to start pulling from the storage building side. I have to do a little at a time. Hold on. Pull back towards you a little bit. Okay. Now you push and I'm gonna pull. Ready? Hang on. Ready? Okay, hang on. Ready? Almost. Got it, got it. Okay, as you can see, I got a little bit left here that's looped. I can take it from this side or I can pull it from this side. Right now it looks like I have enough, so I'm going to connect one end maybe to the panel inside the storage building, and then the rest of the slack I'll pull out the other end. But it looks like it worked. Well, we're almost done here. I got my one hot here hooked up, the neutral, now the other hot wire. That's going in here. If I can get in there. Okay. Now I haven't hooked up the breaker on the other panel yet, so I have no power here yet. And I got my ground hooked up. Now, in case you guys didn't know, let me bring you in here a little closer. Now, as far as I know, to be code, this would be considered a subpanel, okay? Because my main panel's at the house, so this is a subpanel. Got the two hots here, the neutral. Now the neutral and the ground here are not bonded, okay? They're not connected together, in other words. So if you can see it right here, I have a ground bar. So that ground wire I brought in has to be separate from the neutral, okay? So the green, the ground, or if you have a bare wire ground, that's going to go to the ground bar. Now you can pick these ground bars up. If you buy these panels and they don't have a ground bar, it's okay. They sell them separately. You buy a ground bar, you screw it into your panel. It's got to be grounded to the panel, this ground. Now whenever you're hooking up your lights and all this stuff on here, you hook up your neutrals to these here, and your grounds have to go to here. Okay, they have to be separate for some reason. I'm not an electrician, but that's just the way it is on a sub panel. The main panel of the house, they're bonded, they're together. So this here, I got my hot hooked up here, neutral hooked up here, the other hot here, my ground's here, everything's tight. Good idea to keep your main switch on off. You remember now when I turn the power on, I'm going to have power here. These two here are going to be hot, okay? But all this is going to be dead because I got the switch off. And if I flip the switch on, then all these would be live and hot. All right, so I just got to put the breaker in, and we should have power to the building. All right, so I put my breaker in. These are my two hot wires here. I got my neutral connected here to the neutral bar. And the ground is also connected because the neutral and the ground are bonded here. They're together. So, look guys, if you're not an electrician and you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with this because it could kill you, okay? Get an electrician and he'll have this done in a zip. But I got my breaker in here. I got my two hots connected to the breaker. I got the neutral connected to the neutral bar, and the ground's also connected there because they're both bonded. Plus I couldn't get over to this side here. It was really rough. So all I gotta do is turn the power on now. Make sure meters on AC. We'll check both terminals. And we're getting 244. That's beautiful. Okay, so power is going to the other panel. We'll go check it out at the other panel now. All right, we got power coming in here. Check that out here. The two hots. 240 coming into these two lines here. Remember, this is the neutral. I have the breaker off, so let's check these down here. And nothing. And let's check here. Nothing. Nothing. And let's ground it. Nothing. Okay. Turn it on. Now these should be all hot. 120. 120. 120. And 120. Good. All right. Turn that off. So I am all set here. What I have to do now is start putting in your breakers and all that stuff, and start wiring up my shop, my metal building here. Now, guys, remember, if you're not an electrician, don't be doing this. Okay, get an electrician to do it. I am so thankful that I am done with the hard stuff right now. That wiring with this heat that we're having, it was a bear. So that is about it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Learned a lot from it. It was a little long, but at least this way you'll get to see what's involved in the trenching and putting the pipes in and pulling the wire. It's a lot of work to do. It's a lot of tedious work. And that breaker, 100 amp breaker, and connecting a 1/0 wire in there, trying to get that to bend. I actually broke one of the tabs on the breaker as I was putting it in. That wire is so stiff. Everything had to be bent and cut right to size. So that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. And you know what? What I have left to do is I gotta cover this trench up. Maybe I can get my wife to do it. Honey, you feel like doing something?